Welcome back to Grump's Barn, where today we're going to be fucking about with this bloody thing again. I've had a couple of days off. Well, I say a couple of days off. I've been busy cutting grass around here. When you've got 3¼ acres, it's nearly all grassland, and your neighbour no longer has sheep that you can put on your land to keep the grass down, you have to do it all yourself. 5 hours over 2 days just to cut the paddock and the lawn. And that was on a big ride-on mower. But there you go. It is what it is. Now, first thing I'm going to have to do is get this fan back off again. That'll be fun. I won't bore you with all that. I'm going to take the fan off and take the cover off and get back to this bloody thing, because I have a good idea of what's going wrong now. Alright, here we are, everything's off now. Now, after a little bit of investigation into how these things bloody work properly, basically these connections down here provide electricity to your starter capacitor and possibly starter windings within there if it hasn't. Now, when this is all together in the normal position before the engine started up, these connections down here are pushed together by this plastic or nylon plate, and they supply power to your starting capacitor. As soon as this gets up to speed, spinning around, then these open up. There are weights in here that get flung out, and when they do, they pull this plastic bit back, which releases the connections down there and cuts the circuit to the starter. That's how it works. And then once the engine slows down again, these come back in, push this back to its closed position again. But obviously this, whatever it is that's supposed to be doing this, is not working, so I'm going to have to take it off so I can work out what's gone wrong with the mechanism, whether something's broken in there or what. Very simple, not a lot to it, but unfortunately because of the position it's in, you can't really see what's going on in there. So first I'm going to have to get a puller and pull off this bearing. Then there's a circlip behind on here, it's got to come off. This is what stops this from moving. And I assume somewhere there will be grub screws on here. Can't really tell at the moment. That hold it to the shaft. But I shall have to have a look at that in a minute. First things first, I need to get this bearing off. I'll get a puller for it. Well, in case you're unsure how to get these bearings off, or any bearing like this, there you go, bearing puller. Cheap, shitty, Chinesian bollocks, as found on eBay and many other shitty sites like that. You just have to be very careful with the threads on these because they're not very well made. I've had to recut them on certain bits of it in the past. Absolute bloody shit. There again, this is what you get when you pay the Chinese to make something and you only pay them like 50p an item. If they paid him a decent price, they'd make it out of decent material. Now what is that? Right, now, get this thing pulled off. It's just started moving anyway. But I thought I'd better show this. Right, well I've just taken a circlip off the front of here. That groove there. Now I can't see how this is attached to the shaft at the moment. I'm going to have to have a good old move about of it. See what's going on. Stranger and stranger. Got it all off. Nothing's broken. Nothing's worn. It appears to work. Oh, that's got caught. What is going on here? Oh, hang on a minute. Oh, hang on. Just unclipped itself. Let me have another look at this thing. I might have to get another one. Well, oddly, most of them I've seen that are obviously replacement ones come with a grub screw to attach them to the shaft. This was just a press fit. I had to use a bearing puller to gently pull it off. Alright, let's have another look at this bloody thing. Ooh! I've just taken it apart, cleaned it up, put it back together again with a little bit of lubrication, and these tabs are sticking right out either side. They weren't before. I reckon the bloody thing wasn't seated properly. How it could have become unseated, I don't know. Perhaps through lack of use, it just dried out and things started moving around and not coming back to normal positions again. And maybe it was, that is much better than it was before. Much stronger spring action. He says, trying to convince himself that possibly this might have sorted it. I don't believe it for 1 second, but there you go. Ah, fuck it, all I can do is put the bloody thing back together again and watch it go up in smoke, can't it? And if it does fuck about again, then all I can do is replace the fucking switch, but there's nothing wrong with it. That appears to be working absolutely perfectly now. Not sure how I'm going to get it back on there. It doesn't give you much to push against. I'll see how tight it is and how much of a gentle nudge it needs to get it seated back in its place on the shaft. Alright, it's back on and it's working perfectly. So it would appear. Just drove it on very gently, using a couple of bits of tube there as spacers. Push the plastic bit back and then gently drive it. And that is working very well. And everything's sitting much better than it was before. As I say, it's been lubricated as well, the springs included. Only a bit of WD. Right, let's get this circlip back on and the bearing. Well, I could just put the bearing in the case and then bolt it down, but no, that might not work. I don't know. We'll see. There we go, circlip is on and bearing is on. Driven on with a nice long 19mm socket, fits nicely over there and pushes that in a race beautifully. Right. Fuck, we're getting close to the point where the smoke starts coming out again, aren't we? Right, now I had a slight problem getting this back together. And it's one that if you're working on one of these things, you could very easily find as well. When I was putting this back cover back on, I gently tapped it onto the bearing, so I knew it was sitting right. You can see there's enough room to see behind to make sure it was seated properly. It was all seated nicely, but there was far too much of a gap between here and here. couldn't get it far enough in to get any bolts in or anything, and it should go almost right in. Should just take a little bit of extra seating, not like an inch or so of gap. And what happened was, when you've got this back end off, this front bit can move in and out, and it does. And what it had done was, it had moved in, allowed the bearing inside this casing to move within the, it come out of the casing slightly, which it can do. That wasn't the problem, that would have slipped back in again. But behind that bearing there is a spring clip that tensions the back against the back of the bearing for some reason. And that spring clip had fallen down. That wasn't allowing the bearing to slide back into its casing. So I had to take the front casing off, push this spring clip back into the casing, so I could then push this back on over the bearing properly, so it would all seat properly and it all went in. And everything's fine. And that's all moving beautifully smoothly. No signs of any play, no roughness, notchiness or anything else. It's all beautiful. Right. Whether it will work or not, it's another matter. Because I've just noticed that this brown wire under here is getting a bit cheesy. Obviously been getting hot. I wonder why. The blue wire is fine. Brown wire, not so fine. If I come with a problem with that, I'll just have to renew part of that flex, but we shall see. Bloody hell. Right, suppose I better put the fan back on in case it works. And give this thing a test. Wish me luck. Like me, I'm going to need it. Well, I don't know if you can hear that, but that is one Jenny running properly. I actually heard it switch over. And in fact, the first time it tried to switch over, it drew too much current and shut down the Jenny. Oh yes, now the compressor's working again. And a cold starter capacitor. Oh, thank fuck for that. There you go. We have pressure build up for the first time in a long time. No heat at all on that, or that. So, let's try it again. I don't want to do this. Beautiful, no heat. Yep, no heat at all. We're all sorted. Well, thank fuck for that. It was all down to the centrifugal switch, needing a little bit of love and attention, a bit of lubrication here and there, and resetting it, because it's got two tags, or tangs rather, that the each of the arms that fly out sit on. And it wasn't sitting very deep on them. I hadn't noticed particularly until I buggered about and cleaned it up and stuff, and they just clicked right in. So obviously they were sticking and weren't pulling back that black piece of plasticky nylon-y stuff, and it wasn't releasing the current properly. So we now have a working compressor, and I'm fucking over the moon. Alright, that's enough for this one. Next one we'll be getting on with this bloody mini mill and its fucking plastic gears that I will be changing, because then I can get back on to this fucking beast. Oh, my Jenny's about to cut out, it's nearly out of petrol. So that's me for now anyway. Finally some good news. Take care people, and I'll see you soon. Bye. One final shot before I go. There you are, all back together. Bye.